Let's draw it out. Imagine being a pharaoh in ancient Egypt around 2600 BC. You rule over a land of plenty, having subjugated rival kingdoms. Your people look to you as a god on earth, but your power is limited by your mortality. Like every ruler, you will die. So what if death can be cheated? What if there is a way for you to live forever? The answer came in the form of a stepped pyramid, a simple mound of mud bricks over a royal tomb. This was the mastaba, an architectural staple of Egypt since the 3rd dynasty. But for the pharaohs, this wasn't enough. They were looking for something bigger, something grander, something that would allow them to ascend to the heavens. Enter the Great Pyramid, the crowning achievement of Egyptian architecture and a testament to the pharaoh's desire to reach the stars. But before we get to the finished product, let's deconstruct this blueprint of the past to understand the genius that went into its creation. Why did the pharaohs even think of building pyramids? This question might seem a bit silly today, but back then it was a big deal. Pyramids weren't built on a whim. They were part of a larger plan, a plan that spanned generations and involved thousands of people, and we are still uncovering the details of this plan today. For example, we know that pyramids weren't just tombs, but a complex system of belief, power, and astronomical alignment. They helped the pharaohs connect with the gods, project their power, and show their wealth. But to truly understand why the pharaohs built pyramids, we need to go back to the beginning. To the very first pyramid. According to legend, it all started when King Djoser came to power in the 3rd dynasty. He ruled over Egypt for nearly 20 years, and during his reign, he decided to build a pyramid. But he didn't want just any pyramid. He wanted something special, something that would honor his legacy and show his greatness. So he called upon the best architect in Egypt, a man named Imhotep. Together, they came up with a plan that would change history forever. Now, Imhotep wasn't an unknown person. He held the title of vizier, meaning he was the pharaoh's chief advisor and essentially his right-hand man. We can learn a lot about him from the inscriptions left behind by Djoser himself. According to those inscriptions, Imhotep was a man of many talents. He was a priest, a musician, a doctor, a poet, an architect, a mathematician, and even a magician. Quite the polymath, wouldn't you say? But his greatest achievement was the pyramid. So how did Imhotep turn a simple burial mound into a towering monument? First, he had to solve the problem of using cut stone instead of mud bricks. This was a huge deal because it meant that the pyramid would last for thousands of years instead of collapsing after a few decades. It also meant that the pyramid could be built much steeper and taller, which made it more impressive and more efficient. Using stone also allowed for more decoration inside and outside the pyramid, making it more beautiful and more meaningful. But let's rewind a bit. How did the pharaohs manage to build such huge and precise stone structures? In fact, it took several steps. And we know about them thanks to another great architect who came later, Imhotep. He was probably Khufu's son-in-law, and he left us with a manual of sorts, a set of instructions and tips for building pyramids. According to Huni and other records, the process went like this. First, they chose the location carefully, usually near a quarry or a river. Then they laid out the foundation with a level and plumb line. This was crucial because the whole structure rested on this base. Next, they built the core with a mixture of rubble and mortar. This was the skeleton of the pyramid, which was then covered with huge blocks of Tura limestone. These blocks were quarried nearby and transported on sledges lubricated with water. The limestone gave the pyramid its smooth and polished look, but it also served as a protective layer against erosion. Finally, they decorated the exterior with reliefs and inscriptions, which told the story of the pharaoh and his accomplishments. Of course, we can't forget the internal structure of the pyramid, which was equally impressive. It had hidden chambers and false passages, which were designed to confuse intruders. It also had ventilation shafts, which connected the burial chamber to the outside air, which was a nice touch for the pharaoh who liked to breathe fresh air even in death. And don't forget the burial chamber itself, which was usually located in the center of the pyramid and surrounded by smaller rooms for the queen and the princes. The burial chamber was often decorated with beautiful paintings and sculptures that depicted scenes from Egyptian mythology and daily life. But wait, there's more. The whole structure was aligned with the cardinal directions with an astonishing accuracy. The angles of the sides were almost perfect, matching the directions of north, south, east, and west within a fraction of a degree. Even the pyramid's internal passages and shafts were aligned with the stars and constellations, showing an amazing knowledge of astronomy and mathematics. And let's not forget the precision required to cut and place each block of stone. Some of these blocks weighed several tons and had to be moved and lifted without any modern tools or machines. It took skilled workers and a lot of manpower to achieve this level of precision and accuracy. The same goes for the materials used to build the pyramids. The Egyptians didn't just use any kind of stone, they chose specific types of stone for specific parts of the pyramid based on their hardness, durability, and appearance. For example, the lower parts of the pyramid were made of granite, which was the hardest and most durable stone available. The upper parts were made of limestone, which was softer but easier to work with, and the decorative elements were made of various kinds of stone, depending on the desired effect. This choice of materials helped the pyramids stand the test of time and still look magnificent today. The construction of the pyramids was no easy feat. It required a lot of time, effort, and resources. The Great Pyramid of Giza, the largest and oldest of the three main pyramids, took an estimated 20 to 30 years to build. It used about 2 million limestone blocks and 80,000 granite blocks, as well as a huge workforce of skilled and unskilled laborers. But despite the challenges, the Egyptians managed to create some of the most iconic and enduring structures in human history, and we are still amazed by them today. But what makes the pyramids so fascinating is not only their size and complexity, but also what they represent. They represent a civilization that was highly advanced for its time. They show a society that had a strong sense of order and discipline. They also show a culture that was rich in symbolism and meaning. Each block of stone in the pyramids tells us something about the Egyptians and their world. And the more we learn about the pyramids, the more we realize how much we don't know. The Great Pyramid of Giza is a prime example of this. It's the oldest and largest of the three pyramids in the Giza plateau, and it's also the only one that still stands complete. It was built for Pharaoh Khufu, who reigned from 2580 to 2560 BCE, and it's believed that it took about 27 years to build. The pyramid was originally about 481 feet tall, but now it's about 455 feet tall. It has a square base of about 755 feet, and it's made of about 2 million limestone blocks. The pyramid was aligned with the cardinal directions with an astonishing accuracy, and it was also aligned with the constellation of Orion's belt. The pyramid had several chambers and passages, including a burial chamber, a queen's chamber, a grand gallery, and several air shafts. One of the most mysterious features of the Great Pyramid is the Great Sphinx, which is a huge statue with the body of a lion and the head of a pharaoh. It's believed that the Sphinx was built for Khufu, but we don't know much about its purpose or meaning. The Great Pyramid is not the only pyramid that was built in Egypt. In fact, there were dozens of pyramids built over a period of about 1,000 years. Most of them are small and ruined now, but some of them are still impressive and some of them are still a mystery. One of the most famous pyramids besides the Great Pyramid is the Red Pyramid of Imhotep III. It's located south of Cairo and it's the tallest standing pyramid in Egypt. It was built for Imhotep III, who reigned from 2590 to 2570 BCE, and it took about 20 years to build. The pyramid is about 471 feet tall, and it has a base length of about 718 feet. It's made of white limestone, and it has a steeper slope than the Great Pyramid. The pyramid is aligned with the cardinal directions with an amazing accuracy, and it has several chambers and passages, including a burial chamber and a queen's chamber. As we said before, the Egyptians didn't always get it right on their first try. There are some pyramids that are not perfect, either because they were abandoned halfway or because they were damaged by natural disasters or human activities. But these imperfect pyramids also teach us something valuable. They show us how the Egyptians learned from their mistakes and how they improved their techniques over time. One of these imperfect pyramids is the bent Pyramid of Khufu. It's located near the Great Pyramid, and it's one of the most unusual pyramids in Egypt. It was built for Khufu's son or grandson, but it was abandoned halfway through construction. The pyramid has a strange bent shape that makes it look like it's leaning over, and it has several chambers and passages, including a huge air shaft that goes deep into the earth. We don't know why the construction was abandoned or what caused the bend shape, but we do know that this pyramid is a unique and fascinating structure that deserves more attention.